Hello, and welcome to Burning Issues, the only program that provides you a glimpse inside the Wichita Fire Department. I'm Billy Wenzel, the Division Chief of Safety and Training for the Wichita Fire Department, and in this episode we'll talk about what it takes to make sure firefighters are prepared to respond to a variety of emergencies. The emergencies range from hazardous materials incidents to people being trapped in building collapses to medical emergencies. In each and every incident, the fire department is still expected to arrive with the right equipment and the right training. Each one of our trucks and fire engines are loaded with special tools and equipment to help us provide assistance. The logistics of keeping that emergency response system fully equipped and trained largely falls to the Support Services Division of the fire department. Joining us today are Lieutenant Mark Hanneberg and Senior Storekeeper Melissa Plymell. Welcome.
Thanks for having us, Chief.
You bet. We kind of wanted to start out with each one of you, explain a little bit how you ended up in support services, what your history is with the city, and so Melissa, why don't you tell us kind of what your history is with the city of Wichita?
I've been working for the city for over 7 years and started out working at City Arts in the Arts and Cultural Division. I handled their rentals and all of their class schedules and helped out with administrative duties, and came into this role, which was a brand new position, and I'm very pleased to help out with managing and tracking inventory for the fire department.
So really kind of your role with City Arts and the new role with the fire department and the new regional training center, you kind of blended over some of the scheduling stuff. You have some experience with that.
Correct. I took over many similarities from the City Arts job into my new position as a storekeeper. So.
Great, thanks. What about you, Mark? Tell us a little bit about your history with the fire department.
I graduated recruit class in 1999, so I'm coming up on 13 years with the city of Wichita. I spent my first 10 years at Fire Station 1, located at 731 North Main. After that, I went through the promotional process, took the test, and ended up, got promoted to lieutenant and got assigned to the training division at the regional training center.
That's kind of an unusual path. Normally lieutenants, when you get promoted, you remain out in the field, at a station. The opportunity to move into the training division, do you see that as a positive or a negative? And what's that experience kind of been like for you?
That is correct, Chief. It is a different path. Usually when a lieutenant gets promoted, or a firefighter gets promoted to lieutenant, they'll go out on the floor and be a lieutenant in a station. I was offered a different opportunity to come out to the regional training center, the training grounds, and assist out there. I had previously had experience working with our air packs, and that was one way that I got my foot in the door starting in training. And when this opportunity presented itself, I took it and been out there for almost 3 years and really starting to enjoy what I'm doing with helping out other officers and firefighters and getting them equipped with what they need in order for them to do their jobs right.
Melissa, your role as you came on board was a new role that was created. Typically in the past, a lot of the equipment was and the supplies were left up to people that were off duty. Maybe a battalion chief off duty would have to go on his day off and go to Sam's or one of the other retail agencies and pick up stuff and bring it to the station. Having your role created has really focused that stuff. Could you talk a little bit about how you work with purchasing and with other agencies to help streamline the process?
As a senior storekeeper, I came in and centralized all the supplies for the department because, as you said, all the supplies were centrally or located at different stations with different people handling it. I came in and was a sole person to actually manage and track the inventory. This has been a long process and is still a changing, evolving process that will need to be changed, but it is one that's actually currently working and getting the guys their supplies as they need it on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's made a huge difference. The fact that the supplies were spread out and to get them focused in with one person look at them has not only been more effective, but there's been some cost savings associated. I know you work closely with purchasing and following strict guidelines the purchasing guidelines that are out there. Could you talk just a little bit about your relationship with purchasing, and do you talk to them daily, or?
Actually, the purchasing department is a great help. I talk to them on a daily basis. They help me out with making sure I follow all the policies or procedures, purchasing items, whether they be on a low scale or a bigger scale, and making sure those are followed up correctly and purchased correctly.
Right, and that's, I think that's one of the big key components, is to get those processes in place and have somebody in place that knows how to do those and has built those relationships. I know, Mark, you work a lot with the research and development, looking for new equipment. I mean, we have tools of our trade that are out there that we use every day, but they're always inventing something new. Can you talk a little bit about, what you do and how you identify those things and how you get them into service?
One of the things that we do out there at the Regional Training Center is work with vendors on new products. A vendor will bring in a product to us and have us try it out. If we're in a need for a certain tool, if it's a hand tool or a thermal imaging camera or possibly a fire hose, we're going to take those items from the vendor and we're going to try and push it out to the guys at the station and have them use it and see what they think of it, collect some data, get their feedback on it, and because we do want to get the very best equipment out there for the guys.
Yeah, it's really about getting the very best for the job that we do. I know that a lot of times, everybody's trying to sell you something, and so you kind of go through those, and then everything we purchase is tested before it actually is spread out across the department.
Absolutely. We're trying to get any equipment that comes in, we need to push it out to the guys and let them use it, because those are the guys that are going to be using it in the field.
I know one of the most recent projects that you've been working on have been the thermal imaging cameras. And the thermal imaging cameras, of course, are an infrared camera that can see through the smoke to a certain degree, indicates temperature differences. It's become a great tool in the fire service for searching for people that need to be rescued in fire situations. Can you talk a little bit about how intensive evaluation process is and what we did just so we can identify, because there's so many different cameras out there and they each have strengths and weaknesses, and we need to find the one that's best for Wichita. Kind of explain what that process looked like that you put together.
Well, the process for us was fairly intensive. We received about 8 cameras that came in from different vendors, and we pushed them out to the guys on the floor. We had a drill cycle, and along with that drill cycle, we had a live fire condition that they were able to go inside, play with each camera, look around with them, use them as they would in a real fire situation. And when they came out with those cameras, they were able to give us feedback. We took all the feedback, collected all that data that they talked about, all the numbers that they gave us, and put it all together to come up with the camera that best suits our needs and that the majority of the guys on the department really wanted.
Yeah, it really is about getting the best, to fit our needs. As a group, what do you see as the most challenging task in your roles? You both have an important role in providing equipment and the best resources to all the members out there. Well, what's the most challenging thing that you face every day?
I would say me, as far as my purchasing background with the supplies, is to make sure that we get the best, the most efficient, and cost-effective items for the department. And that's kind of my little piece of the role in the training division.
And that's always a moving target, isn't it?
Correct, and it's always going to be changing. Mm-hmm. So trying to manage that is a good challenge.
What about you, Mark?
One of the biggest challenges that I face is getting the right amount of equipment for the guys, because at any given day you don't know what somebody's going to need. If it's an orange safety vest or 300 feet of fire hose, you just don't know what the guys are going to need that day, what circumstances led up to them needing the equipment that they did. Our equipment does break. It has failures. Our guys are rough on it, as they should be. They're using it out there in the field, and the challenge is to get them the important equipment that they need right away.
Right. You know, we talked a little bit about the opening of the regional training center and bringing supplies together. What are some of the aspects, some of the benefits that we've realized since we've opened the regional training center?
I think the Regional Training Center is a great centralized location for the fire department. It centralizes all the supplies and makes it in easy access for any station to get anything that they need. Also, it's a great place to have all the training, drills, classes, you name it, for the department. I think it's a great.
What do you think, Mark?
It's a great centralized location, like Melissa talked about. If you're going to need paper towels or an axe at your station, all of that stuff can be provided there. If you need equipment fixed, you bring it there, and we'll try and do our best to take care of it. So it is a great centralized location.
I know one of the things that we've done is we hold regular training at the facility. You know, that's one of its core purposes. But in addition to that, when they come out for training, I know at the back you guys always have equipment lined up for the different stations, and so if they're there for training, they can pick up their equipment and take it back with them. It actually saves fuel. You don't have somebody running around stuff, so that seemed like it's been helpful for you also?
Absolutely.
It's been very beneficial, I think, on both ends, on my end, getting them the supplies that they need daily, and also for them.
Let's talk a little bit about, you both have to deal with vendors or salespeople, and I know that sometimes that can be challenging. Can you talk a little bit what you do, how you handle that, and how you keep the process fair so everybody is competitive?
Working with vendors is great. I've established a lot of relationships, from dealing with custodial supplies, medical supplies, tools and equipment. The purchasing department has been great because I have to follow guidelines, making sure that it's competitive, and also that local vendors actually have a say in something, and so I think it's a really good benefit.
What about you, Mark? I know you dealt especially with these cameras that you talk with vendors all the time.
On our end, we go through a process. We do the request for qualification process. We send out sheets to the vendors letting them know what we're looking for. And it could be anything from the thermal imaging cameras to fire trucks to hand tools. It's a process that we go through and we evaluate, and we get input from everybody around the job.
You know, some people might get the impression that your jobs are strictly focused around providing these logistical reports in fairly calm situations, but I know you were both involved with the tornado that came through Wichita, and when we have a large-scale incident, the fire department really gears up, and it requires everybody to become a part of that and help out. Can you talk a little bit about your roles during large-scale incidents and what you did specifically during the tornado, those type of things?
Sure. I know prior to any incident, making sure that we have all the tools and necessities that we can outfit an engine or an apparatus in our stock room or in our storage room is definitely necessary. And that was one thing that I helped provide, in making sure that what was sent out was tracked, and so any engine that came in that would be outfitted.
Right.
Any large-scale incident that we have, I feel like I'm going to play an important role in the logistical process. I'll be out there at the Regional Training Center, and my main focus is going to be trying to get firefighters back on the streets. If they bring an engine out to us, we're going to give them the equipment that they need in order for them to do their job. During the tornado, I did that night. I came out, I showed up at about 11:30, and right away we had a bunch of firefighters coming in with engines, and they needed equipment, and we were able to provide that to them.
You know, typically in a large-scale incident where our resources, all the fire engines that are out at the fire stations, they get called into that area. And if the situation warrants, we'll call back off-duty firefighters. typically what we'll do is call them back to the regional training center so we can outfit them. And so that's really become key to have this central location where we have all the logistical needs in one place and we have the staff that knows how to implement that and put them into service. Been very successful, I think.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Chief.
That concludes this episode of Burning Issues. Remember, Wichita firefighters are highly trained professionals who are your friends and neighbors. They are Wichita's bravest, and they are somewhere serving you every day.